Good evening, everybody. Madam Clerk?
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act and JSA 10:4-6, et sec, notice of which was sent to the record in the Star Ledger and was posted on the municipal bulletin board.
Do a roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sims is not here. Councilmember Battaglia.
Not here.
And Mayor LaBrosse.
Here.
Flag salute.
Flag salute. Would everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You want to take over? Oh, you.
I'm sorry. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. We're going to have a discussion regarding the improvements to Stuyve Park, which includes a new facility, bathroom facility, a possible portico covering, as well as a dog park. So can we bring up the plans? Come on.
Well, they have copies
Okay,
of that.
okay.
And he has I'm, good evening, Ted Ehrenberg, City Manager. I'm sorry, my manners. Happy New Year to all. Tom Donahue from Don Rafalski's office is here. He has a set of full-blown copies for the council. You have many handouts of the diagrams for the dog park and the
Thank you.
beautification of Stuyve Park. The issue for those of us that took the journey, and we had these meetings of my dog people that put in input on this park, as I promised to them that once we got our kind of in gear here, that we were going to have a discussion, we were going to get input from the public, and we were going to discuss this. So what the Don Rafalski firm has so far completed is basically to identify key areas of the park. The first thing we looked at was the restrooms up there. The building that houses the restrooms had a problem with termites, and part of the building has been basically eaten away. Anybody that's ever used that facility realizes that the outside of it is essentially almost like a log cabin, and it has inserted windows like you went away to the 4-H camp. They're not regular windows, they're not thermal pane, so basically they're screens for the summer, and then we insert these covers for the winter, and we do the best we can. For us to make the improvements in the park through our discussions through Tom and his partner, Tom Barati, is that if we're going to invest in these parks, and I've stated this before under goal setting, that the city is basically going to start and work its way through the process of all of our parks. Obviously, we value our recreation, we value our green space, so our first shot is that we are certainly working at trying to get the best bang for our buck. Through the discussions and those people that had input prior, Stuyve Park seemed to be a likely choice to put a dog park in. Then we started to address the bathroom issue. The facility is old and certainly needs to be updated to make it more user-friendly, and obviously a better use of bathroom facilities because of all kinds of things of changing stations, and the world's changed. That bathroom's probably 40-plus years old. Someone will correct me, but I'm probably not too far off the mark. Is that the next thing is for young children, mothers, and for park facilities, you need some kind of canopy or closure to keep people out of the weather, the sunlight. We had recreational activities up there, and we had to bring buses up there in case there was a thunderstorm or something. We needed to be able to move these children out of the weather or the conditions so they were, one, safe, and two, hopefully high and dry. So that brought in the input from Councilwoman von Rudenberg on the obviously concern for children and making sure that they're safe. And obviously, people with young children need these facilities. You're not going to take a child, put it in the hot sun, and think it's going to take a nap in this and get broiled along the way here also. So that brought in the notion of we should probably implement a portico So there'd be some place to shade people, or you're gonna have a picnic lunch and it starts to rain or it's too hot, we would have that. And then obviously the next thing that was the consideration was obviously to create a dog park. Separation, small dogs, big dogs, separation of both, and really get the full utilization of the park. And that is the goal. So if tonight, Tom's gonna speak for a minute here, is that we're gonna show you pictures and a design and it's all done, it's not. The reason why it doesn't make sense, nothing against this firm or all engineers, for us to design this whole thing, and then all of a sudden we present it and you folks go, oh, what about this? What about that? You forgot this, should have done this, what about that? So we're gonna try to do this a little differently, maybe in prior years. We wanted input from you folks. We'll take copious notes, make sure, and then we're gonna have these folks direct and put this plan together, and then we'll revisit this and see if we basically hit the mark. So that's the reason for having this special meeting, to make sure that we try to, I don't know if we're gonna make every person in this room simultaneously happy, but we're certainly gonna give it a try. Mayor and council are supportive of this program. They've directed us to put the facility here. We have the financial issues resolved. Jim Mangan's here. We're prepared. The project essentially is funded, even though we don't know because we haven't gone out to bid or completely identified these costs because we don't have a plan design yet, but we're certainly there. So Tom, maybe you have a few words you'd like to share. And
Good evening. Darmofowski Engineering was tasked with putting together a concept plan indicating locations of where a dog park may go. Along with that, there were some other improvements to Stuyve Park, which was to improve the basketball court, remove the existing restroom area, and then to construct a new restroom and a pavilion structure adjacent to where the existing restroom structure is. So we went through and we visited the site along with the council people. We determined an area that would accept a dog park area. So we've indicated on the plan here, this is we have 3 sheets here. One's an overall plan of the park, an area that's indicated by 50 by 70 fenced-in area, which would be split in half, 25 for large dogs and 25 feet in width for smaller dogs, with an entranceway on one side. And then with that, there's some playground equipment which would be relocated to provide a view from the pavilion out into the ball field area. So those are indicated also. So I'll just turn to the second page, which indicates a little bit more detail of the dog park area. So the dog park area, again, is a 50 by 70 foot, more or less rectangle. Right now we're showing chain link fence to be installed with a barrier down the middle and an entranceway on one side, which would permit dogs to enter into a safe area and then enter into the open area for both the large and small dog size. Along with that, there's some gates for maintenance. We'd have maintenance vehicles be able to access this area to provide maintenance of the 2 areas where we would add pea gravel as necessary. So the fence itself is right now is shown as a 5-foot high chain link fence coated with black PVC. Along with that, we're indicating a new light pole to be installed adjacent to the dog park area for around this time when it gets dark earlier. We'd be able to have that area lit for a little bit to provide that security in that area. So that's basically what is being shown right now. It's right adjacent to the parking area. It's out of the floodplain of that stream that's nearby.
So we're not going to have any issues with that. And again, on this blow up here, we're indicating an improvement to the basketball court that's there. On the last page, we're indicating a conceptual area where the pavilion would be. Right now it's shown as a 24 by 40 foot wooden pavilion. We have some pictures of sample pavilions, what this may look like. Along with that, we have some sample plans of restrooms, which would have individual male and female restroom areas, also with a mechanical area between the two, which could be used for storage. And this area is where the existing building would be removed and the playground equipment shifted over. So again, this is just a conceptual phase of what we're planning at this point.
Okay. Mayor, how would you like to do this? Would you want to start taking individual questions that haven't come to the mic?
Well,
So,
what I think we'll do is we'll just open it to the public,
okay.
and they'll all get probably 3 minutes or more at a council meeting. So I'll need a motion to open to the public.
Offer.
Mike's not on.
Second.
We have that. All right, so anybody from the public who'd like to speak, we'll take you one at a time. Please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes. Give your name and address to the clerk, please.
Sure. Happy New Year, and thank you, Mayor and City Council, for having the meeting. My name is Alberto Torres Jr. Esquire. My address is 135 Fairmount Avenue, Hackensack, New Jersey, 07601. To the engineer, Tom, thank you for providing the copies so that we could see the conceptual plans. But I'm probably pretty sure that I speak for most people here that these are really hard to make out. And you know, I know that this is still in the conceptual phase, but it would be a little bit more helpful, just a suggestion, if these could somehow be blown up into like maybe a PowerPoint slide or something and show the AutoCAD, and so that the public can get a better sense of what the dimensions are and what it might look like, because even the blown up version is just really challenging to get a good idea of what the city council is planning for the park. I had a question about the proposed entry of the park. Is that going to be towards the south end of the park, or I mean, you showed entrance where the dogs can come in for the large and the small. Is that going to be like where that little turnabout is, that little turnaround is at the end of Davis Avenue?
Correct. Right now, there's a gravel or a wood chip pathway at the end of this parking area. So we were showing a connection to that at the westernmost end of that parking area. We would have a connection there and then walk up into the dog park area.
So for people that, for example, were driving their dogs to the park, they would with those spaces that are existing a little bit in the front of where the proposed dog park is, are those parking spaces still going to be there?
Right now, there are parking spaces adjacent to the ball field. There's no striping in this larger area here, so I'm not sure if that's...
Right, so my question is, how would the people that park where the spaces are currently, how would they have access to the dog park? Would they have to walk around?
They would have to walk down through the parking lot and then up into it, yes.
Okay.
You'd have to have control as to where you'd have access to the dog park, so you can't have it on every side. You'd have to have it just on one side.
Okay, and then my last question, because I'm sure there's others with other questions, is there was some preliminary chatter about possibly cutting into the wooded area that
Parking area.
roughly abuts where the proposed dog park is going to be. Is the city council proposing or thinking about cutting into some of that wooded area?
The dog park is shown to be within a wooded area. We're only going to remove trees within that area that's outlined. There is still a buffer of woodeds around the dog park area.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Joanne Somerville, 157 Davis Avenue. The size of the dog park, I think, should be 2/3 for the big and 1/3 for the small dogs. because a lot of people with small dogs don't even bring their dogs to the dog park, and the big ones need room to run. That's what I think, you know. And as far as the entrance, what you're saying, is it gonna really interfere? We're gonna have people on our block on Davis at the end that are really concerned about people parking at the end of Davis to go into the dog park, especially if the entrance is on that side there. That's gonna be an issue, because, I mean, let's face it, if they can go from that end, they're gonna try to park down there and go from that end, as opposed to parking across and going all the way around. I don't think the neighbors at the end are gonna be happy about that. You know what I mean? Can you have the entrance from the creek area there, by the creek, more on that side?
Well, we could post no parking signs. I'm not sure how the council's going to handle that. There is a turnaround area at the end of Davis.
Yeah. And that's where
But
the problem's
there's
gonna
not a connection
lie.
over to the main parking area. I believe that's blocked off. So we wanted to provide some type of easy means in elevation, because it's about a 5-foot drop from where the parking lot is up to where the platform of the dog park is. So the way that we have this shown is a gradual slope coming up to where the entrance would be. The entrance could be provided on the other side. It all depends on how the council would want to have foot traffic coming into that area. So if people parked here, you would probably want to have some type of means or travel path from the parking lot area up to there, and we thought that this was the easiest way to have.
Well, when you go down Coles and you get to the end, that area that used to be the old ice skating area there, is that gonna be still open for parking?
Yeah, I'll jump in here for a minute. The thought was that initially, we talked about putting the dog park in that, where the old ice skating rink is. The problem is with flooding, and if you use pea gravel, we'd have all of that washing into the river. So we realized that we're gonna have to elevate that location out of that. Also, the city uses that, for anybody that's been around here, places where when we clean the streets, we dump snow. So we were thinking, long-term, space is a commodity here in the great city of Hackensack. So that's why we came up with the idea of raising that up out of that basically floodplain right there when it floods. And secondly, tucking that back into the woods a little bit. One is a sound barrier, and most importantly, still having the ability to use that back parking lot.
In 32 years that I've lived there, there's never been a flood.
Okay.
Seriously. I mean, everyone will tell you here, we've never had a flood.
We have a lot of folks here, ma'am, so your 3 minutes is up, but
Oh,
we
okay.
appreciate you roll writing down your.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Next, please.
Hi, Patricia Henry, 116 Spring Valley Avenue. This is the first time I'm looking at these layouts, and I'm wondering, did you look at any of the other dog parks in the area for consideration of doing something similar? The reason I ask is that I have a small dog, and believe me, he runs. He runs all over the place. He does need room to run. Yeah, but they need room too. But I take him to Ridgewood because it's a very nice facility, and it's separated. It's broken out by the two, the large dog area and the small dog area. It's nothing fancy. There's no pavilion. It's just a dog park. There's not even seats in it for people. You either stand or you bring your own little portable seat. But it's well attended because everybody loves it. But my question is, and I was very excited when I read and I saw that they built one at Van Soen Park, which is closer for me. I live in Fairmount. So I was traveling to Ridgewood. Now I figured I'd just go to Van Soen. But in Van Soen, they denuded the entire area of trees. So there's not an ounce of shade in that entire dog park. So the dogs and the humans sit there and sweat. And if the dogs want to run around, in about 2 minutes, they're all panting. So I see that you're removing trees. It looks like from this print, that you're planning on taking down trees. Are you planning on leaving any up within the enclosure to shade the area?
Yes.
where the dogs are?
Yes, there could be.
Because that was really
one or two
very
large
foolish
ones in the
move.
middle.
in
That was
Hackensack.
actually one of the discussions that we had when we visited, is to make sure that we had trees to
Very poor
provide,
design.
shade for the dog park. And I think regarding the pavilion, that's a separate, we were talking about Stuyve Park in general, that the pavilion will be more towards the playground area, so it's not a pavilion over the dog park. So the dog park, we did discuss that we should have trees
I assume
over it.
that.
Yeah.
So my last question, just because this is the first time I'm seeing this, is why are you putting up such a big pavilion? Are we looking for this to be a money-making
No.
thing? Or, like renting it out for picnics or barbecues? or
No, we
something?
tried to
Parties?
see how many children were in the rec program that are there.
Oh, so
And
the children can use it, okay.
exactly, right.
Makes
It's
sense.
not by the dog park area, it's going to be by, yeah.
Last year for the rec program, we had to bring school buses up and park them there.
Make shade.
So they
Right.
had shade and shelter in
Right.
case the weather conditions.
And even on
Oh, that
days,
makes perfect
yeah,
sense.
and.
No question.
And
I
even
just
on
didn't
days
understand.
where, they just called for maybe an hour of rain, the children had to go to Fairmont and sit in a hot gym because there was no way to get them back and forth, so
Makes
that was.
perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. My biggest concern was that we still had shade and trees because they destroyed the one that they built at Vince on. It's almost unusable.
No, we definitely
Great.
want to
Great.
keep trees.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Grazer. The woman raised excellent suggestions. Most imperatively, the way you learn is by everyone else's mistakes. So if you go to all the other dog parks, that's how you learn. Van Soen is excellent. The fence is superb. She says it's right with the shade and everything else. The points I want to bring up, and I'll leave it with this gentleman here, is the foundation. It is imperative. A lot of these dog parks use gravel. Worst thing in the world. The dogs are running, there's no traction, puts tremendous strain on their joints. Go to the dog park, you'll see. It also, it raises dust, it gets in their eyes, it gets in their mouth, it gets all over. So it's imperative that the foundation, you do your research. There's a company called, and I highly suggest when you guys have time to look this up, it's called Canine Grass, hold on, what's Canine Grass by Forever Lawn. It's expensive, but overall, it keeps your costs down for everything. Go to the website, see what they've done. You will have ideas, your head will be spinning. There's a dog park, I think it's Bound Brook, is that the name of it, in Bloomfield? They also have an excellent reputation. I don't know the name of it offhand. I've never been, but if you talk to other people at the dog parks, they'll tell you the one in Bloomfield is superlative. Ridgewood is also excellent. Again, it's the foundation and the fence that's imperative. The woman is also right with the shade factor. You have to have shade for these dogs. A lot of people show up and they're ignorant and the dogs are getting overheated and they're not realizing the poor animal is in direct sunlight. Also imperative, water. I don't know if you're willing to install some sort of water fountain or something like that. That gets shut off usually in November. Some people say to break up a dog fight, you use a hose. So if you could hook up the water and also have a hose, God forbid there's any kind of confrontation. I don't mean to tell anybody what to do. I apologize if I come off like that. It's just I've been to so many dog parks and you can see all the mistakes. So that's the reason why I'm here tonight. You learn by your mistakes and you really want to make something that's fabulous. The foundation, the fence is critical, water, shade, recreational equipment. If you can, any kind of agility. Some people use those big cement water pipes. The dogs run in and out. They can be good. Sometimes if a dog is running full speed and he smashes into it, you could kill the dog. So maybe something else. Again, Bound Brook is excellent, agility cross. There's also Wantage. Wantage is like the Beverly Hills of dog parks. I highly suggest you look at this website, Wantage, W-A-N-T-A-G-E. It's 8 acres. The town devoted 8 acres. Last and most importantly, for revenue, get people to advertise, put up, like in the Little League Park, you know how you have the banners and everything else? You could charge $100 a month. There are so many pet services out there in turn that would then hopefully pay for the
Okay, thank you, Mr.
cost. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
That's a great suggestion. for 3
Thank you.
minutes. Thank you. Next, please.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Dee Puntiseka, 210 Willow Avenue. I'm just not getting where the dog park is going. Is it going in the parking lot?
No.
No, that's where I'm lost. Are you cutting down trees?
Yes. It's shown right now as cutting down some trees. This is
Like what some?
the area is 50 by 70 in size, but we have to pull out what smaller trees we could take and leave the larger ones within the middle area. So we have to locate those in,
So from Davis to the parking lot, is that where the dog park's going?
yes, in between.
So the people that live on
is here.
Davis,
This is Coles.
There'll
Coles
still,
comes,
there'll still be a tree buffer between.
yes.
there will be.
There will be.
Oh, yeah, it's not,
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not complete, we're not taking out all the trees, just an area of trees. There'll still be a tree buffer along Davis.
Yeah, because I would feel sorry for those people that, you know, they buy a house with this big buffer and,
To leave trees, because the sun, I believe, east will be coming across, we gotta keep some shade on the boat.
I think the only area that you won't have trees is the part backing up to the existing parking lot, right? That should be the only area that's clear between the parking lot and the dog park of no trees?
There'll still be a few
Oh, there will.
within that area, but not as
A
many.
lot, okay.
I don't know. About dumping the snow, is there no other park that can be used for that? Or why is it only Sty Park?
We use a lot of different parks for dumping snow, especially Fashini. The majority of the snow in the city actually goes to Fashini. But we have
Okay.
to, it can't take it all, and that's an issue because it has salt in it, and it's right by the river. So as it
Because
melts, we
the-
end up with issues with salt in the river, so.
It does go in, I mean, when it melts, it does, I mean,
DEP, has frowned on that practice for years, storing snow near the river.
all right. I really have to say I'm disappointed, but I thought it was gonna take
Well, this
over the
isn't-
parking lot.
Nothing here, folks, is set in stone. This is for you guys to give us your ideas.
Yeah.
Right? We're gonna come up with the.
See, I'm visual.
best
I'm a
possible.
visual. You can
There's
tell me
things-
anything.
There's things I've already heard here that I don't like.
Yeah, oh, okay.
On this, so this is, nothing's written in stone, there's no decision being made yet. This is all gonna be hashed out and, a work in progress.
Thank you.
Kasia Ferron, 131 Allen Street. I just wanted to advocate to move the location of the park to that big area next to the parking lot. I don't know where the money is coming from exactly, but I'm just saying that if there is money, if we can wait another 6 months, get more money and do it right, make it bigger, lift up that area, I think that doing it really right and being a model dog park for the whole Bergen County would be something to consider. I don't agree with cutting down the trees. I don't think that that's the best solution. I also don't particularly like when the snow is being stored in that area. If snow could be moved somewhere else, that would be wonderful. I'm also advocating for equal areas for large and small dogs, but if possible, having the dog park even bigger, so then the big dogs have, even though it's equal, have even bigger space for them. Yes, that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Andy Post, Clinton Place, Hackensack, New Jersey. Completely agree with what she just said. And I just want to make a suggestion for shade because I know obviously there are no trees over that open area right now. If we have poles coming out of the gate, the chain link, if we have high poles, there are inexpensive tarps that I'm sure you've seen in parks that get stretched over and can give shade as well. So, and I also would love to see a larger space, move it to that parking space where we normally put the snow. And again, if we're putting snow in there, that snow has salt. And the salt is leaking, and it would leak into the stream. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ed Matera. I live at 152 Coles Avenue. My wife and I have lived with our family there for 35 years, so we've appreciated the park. We've had our children participate in recreation, and it is a wonderful place to live. And my primary concern now, because this is obviously a lot more than what we had anticipated was going on. We live directly across the street from the rundown toilet facility. And it needed to be repaired about 20 or 25 years ago. Our concern now is the impact of the traffic that's coming up and down Coles Avenue. Coles Avenue is the only, we are a dead-end street, and the only egress in and out is up Coles Avenue. We have contended with an awful lot of situations and an awful lot of problems. Now, according to this, it looks like the dog park is supposed to be further west of Allen Street, which means that there's no egress for them either. They have to go down Davis and back up. Parking is going to be ridiculous. And I'm really concerned about the impact of the traffic now. As it is now, we've had situations where we'll have up to 3 driving schools with students practicing driving and getting driving instruction. Yesterday there were 3 out there. Now, I know we do have the advantage and we do have the privilege of being able to live across the street from the park, and there is nobody in front of us. There's nobody behind us other than Coles Brook. But at the same time, I think some consideration needs to be taken care of for those residents that live along Coles Avenue and the other people that live on Davis Avenue as well. I see also, according to the agenda, that you're going to be voting tonight on a community garden in Johnson Park. We would love a community garden in Stuyve Park. Why isn't there a community garden there? Why isn't the dog park in that facility, which is huge, which has plenty of parking, plenty of opportunities for recreation for children, for adults, soccer field, tennis courts? It just does not make any sense. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please. Nobody else from the public?
My friend Kasha didn't use her full 3 minutes. Can she yield about 45 seconds to me for just a quick point?
Consensus,
Is that okay? I won't drag this on.
I have number 2.
So there was a dog park committee formed about a couple years ago, Mayor and council members, and we had done a tremendous amount of due diligence and research with respect to different things that we could do, consider into the building of the dog park. And my question to the council is, have those been taken under consideration? Because we did do a fair amount of due diligence. We didn't just say, hey, build us a dog park. You know, we actually took the time, the effort, the energy to put together a thoughtful plan so that we could have a dog park in Stuyve Park. And that's my question to the council. Have these materials been taken under consideration in the planning of the dog park? That's my question.
Well, I would go to the engineer on that. There's a lot of different things. And again, sir, we haven't said anything in stone.
For the record, the Darmafowski engineering firm was not retained in the early days. Those of us that were for those initial meetings, when Debbie Keeling-Geddes and I sat in with you folks and met, I have a complete file and a record of every one of those inputs. And like I said, the reason why we're doing this, to some people, is going to seem backwards, but to me, it seems forward. I wanted to get as much input from the people that obviously are passionate about this, so hopefully we'll have to make less changes when the plans come out. So by doing this, we're going to get your feedback, and I've written down pages of notes as I sat here, so did our engineer. We're going to take that, coupled with the information that we had from the initial part. We're going to put this together. We're going to come up with a conceptual design. The mayor and council will get this. But if I've heard anything in the short term that I've been the city manager here, is the city maybe has not done a good job of getting input from the public in the past. I said, I'll fix this in 10 seconds. So we had this public forum. You folks were invited guests. We value your input. As I said before, I'm not going to make every person here happy. The community garden is a completely new concept. Come from our councilwoman who says that, we need to do a better job of using our green space and open space. We're going to try a community garden because it's down by the greenhouse, which makes that much easier to facilitate to start with. We're going to start there. If that obviously serves us well, then I think the expansion of community gardens. But you have to remember, in one sense, the city of Hackensack, when it comes to managing its recreational open space, has not maybe been as explicit in the past, and we're trying to do better. And obviously, with her direction and the mayor and council's support, we're going to move forward. So we will eventually get there, but as I try to remind people, it takes time, it takes money. Remember when we had the initial meetings about the dog park, was the idea of the finances. Privately, quietly, I've had some discussion with the mayor and council. Through the efforts of Jim Magan, we're going to have the money in place to put this together.
Mr. Ehrenberg, just very quickly, I don't want to belabor the point, but this probably needs to be repeated. If there's going to be a subsequent meeting around this issue of the dog park, may I just, kindly and respectfully suggest that something bigger and more visually impactful could be presented, because not everybody has an engineering
I like the
architecture
PowerPoint idea.
background.
Bigger size blow up of plans.
Thank you.
Thank
you for the time.
I take pretty good notes. You'd be surprised. I got it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Hurd. I live at 164 Coles Avenue. And as my neighbor Ed was saying, I have the same concerns that he does, because it is a small park. And now that I've heard about this for the first time, and people are talking about Bergen County coming and visiting this park, that's a lot of people coming through somewhere where there's not a lot of parking, and it would be a lot of traffic. So those would be my biggest concerns. I don't think that those streets can handle that kind of traffic. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Would it be okay for me to finish up my 3 minutes, or then?
Go ahead. But try to make it brief, ma'am.
Sure, I will
In
make
case
it
anybody
very
else.
brief. And I really appreciate, thank you. I just wanted to say that dogs, and I don't want to get emotional, they are our family. I really would like this dog to be at Stop Park. I'll not be driving 15 minutes somewhere else. And I understand people who live by the park that the parking maybe, or the traffic may be some concern. But I also want to say that parks should be used for all of the members of community. And dogs are members of the community. They are part of our families. Children can use the park. Adults use the park. And dogs should be also allowed to be released off the leash in a safe environment so they can use the park. And I apologize for getting emotional. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Christina Bauer of 161 Davis Avenue. I don't have any speech written, so I'm just going to go off the top of my head. I'm a little late to the meeting, so I apologize. While I am 100% for this dog park, I do think that there needs to be some consideration when planning it. For one, obviously the parking is a problem. I do not have a driveway. I rely on street parking. I know my neighbors have children with cars. We should be able to go home and park in front of our house and conveniently go inside. So if they could either create an additional parking lot, that would be great to go along with this. The second thing is, maybe the parking wouldn't be so bad if we limit it to Hackensack residents only, right? You can't. Doesn't Maywood do that?
If the funds that build the park are
Green Acres.
Green Acres, then that's
Federal
state
money.
taxpayer money open to the public.
Okay, so are we allowed to impose fees for a membership, which could also contribute to keeping the maintenance of the park?
That's a.
No, I
That's a
don't
legal
I don't
question. I
believe
don't
so.
think
And you know, in entirely different circumstances, my firm represented Mawad, which, you know, there was a big controversy about keeping people out of parks, and it did not end particularly well. So suffice it to say, if it's a public park, it's open to the public. It's in entirety subject to generally applicable rules that have to be applied equally to everybody.
Okay, so is there any way we can incorporate some sort of membership fee, some type of fee, so that it will allow, you know, any type of finances that need to be contributed towards the maintenance, like you're using the park, you can use the park, we want to make sure your dog has their vaccinations and it's licensed.
The
So if
biggest,
you're
the
pulling
biggest
out-
problem with that is who monitors and enforces that? You'd have to have basically a full-time employee to monitor that, who's coming in and out of the park. There's not gonna be anybody at the gate checking, checking
There might not be, but
membership.
as our residents, we would be checking, I promise you that.
a spec check.
Yeah, we know who comes into the area and who doesn't. We know when there's suspicious activity in Stuyve Park and when there's not. So, knowing a newcomer, people start conversations. It's easy to find this out.
Yeah, but somebody from the first ward, you're in the fifth ward, you're not gonna know if they're from the first ward or from South Hackensack.
Yeah. And you really don't want
You don't know everybody in, I don't know everybody in Hackensack. I mean,
Okay, so
you really don't want to lead to the situation, because again, I've dealt with these sort of issues before. You really don't want to lead to the situation where one citizen's coming to another citizen saying, are you supposed to be here? That can lead to confrontations and it can be problematic. I mean, I know you can, look, there are plenty of cases where, if you're going to use a tennis court or something, some restrictions are permissible, but for a dog park, I have honestly never heard of that, really versus for a particular service like, a golf course or a tennis court or some sort of situation like that. I've honestly never heard of it.
So then, I guess my stance might change, because in the event that this is not going to be something that can,
well,
afford
realize that's what we're
medication.
looking to do here is what we're looking for is a neighborhood dog park, the first of several throughout the city. This isn't going to be the only dog park. Secaucus has 3 dog parks. It's a lot smaller than as far as residential
But how many
population
are
than
in
we are.
Hackensack?
0.
Exactly.
So this is the first one. So we're trying to, people have been asking for this for, my
I'm
God,
one of them.
forever. Okay, so we're moving forward, and we're doing it in a delicate manner, and we want input from everybody. But I certainly don't want a park where people from all over the county are coming here to
Right.
put any type of parking burden or traffic burden in the area. We're not looking for that. We're looking for a nice neighborhood dog park.
Absolutely.
That fits the Fairmount section in particular. And then we're going to move on to the next park and figure that one out. And that's our goal here, but it's one at a time. And the most requested area was Stuyve Park.
Well, we have the area to do it because we lost.
And you
the
have
funds
that
right
back
now,
area,
so-
but
right.
I see a lot of changes I would like to see as far as where it sits and that parking area.
Well, that's the thing. I think that while it's an amazing idea, because I'm a dog owner myself. However, I wouldn't feel comfortable just throwing my dog in a dog park, not knowing that there was some type of regulation to the other dogs that could be in there. You don't know whose dog is licensed or not. I think there needs to be a little bit of revamping with the actual contract itself.
There's going to be rules and regulations for
Right.
the dogs. It's going to be hard to enforce that as well because, but dogs have to be licensed that are in there, I know that. Certain size dogs can't be mixed with other size dogs. I mean, we've looked at other parks. I've taken my dog when I had them to dog parks. And, these are all, it's learning steps for a lot of us here. So
Right.
this is the beginning. So we're glad to see a good turnout. This is a great turnout for something like this. We're impressed.
But they will discuss the parking situation.
Absolutely, nothing's
that
in
will-
stone. We're gonna talk about parking, we're gonna talk about access, I don't wanna impact the people on Coles, the 3 or 4 houses that are up there. So I wanna keep parked cars and everything away from them as much as possible. And same on Davis, I'm certainly, Davis is tighter, there's a lot more houses on Davis than on Coles from
But
north
neither
of Summit.
one,
So
neither one should be.
we have to pay particular attention, and we want to do this in a way, if it has to take some extra fencing and some hiding of things, we can do that.
And we could
And-
enforce that people park in the parking lot area instead of on the street and things like that.
See, I'd rather
That's
see
what-
Well,
expanded
that's-
parking and
that
get
would be
people in the park
Right.
than put them on the streets.
Right, exactly.
That's my
thing.
long-term
As
goal.
long as it's not affecting our living space, where we are, because believe me, like in 10 years or 5 years, if we want to sell the house and this becomes a problem, that will be a deterrent, no?
I don't see it. I mean, Maywood's not a big park. It's not who's been to Maywood Dog Park? Anybody been to Maywood Dog Park?
I have.
Not a overly large dog park, and it's well-run, and they have very few problems. And I don't think, up till last year, I've had dogs since I'm 21 years old. Okay, since I moved, 23 when I moved into Hackensack, back into Hackensack. And I've taken my dog to a dog park once, it was at Overpeck, because I'm lucky I have Vork's Woods behind me, so I'd walk him in the woods. But Yeah, I don't see a lot of people from out of town coming to this area.
Oh, I don't either.
Based on where it is.
I just think enough.
It's not an easy place to get to, at the end there. I mean, it's kind of out of the way, but, and that's a good thing. But we're certainly not looking to bring in, you know, a ton of people from all over the place and have a well-advertised, we want a great dog park, don't get me wrong, but we don't want a well-advertised dog park where, you
Well,
know,
I
they're gonna
think I
come from all
can stand
over.
with the rest of my neighbors.
Right.
That street parking should definitely be.
It will be considered, absolutely,
allowed.
absolutely.
Okay.
And if I may add as well, I think a lot of what we heard tonight, and that was the purpose of the meeting, as
Yeah.
our city manager said, you know, I think making the entrance to the dog park, making it conducive to park in the parking lot is critical here.
Right.
Okay, so that, you know, what we need to take a look at is, yeah, maybe we can tweak the location a little, we have our engineer here, what can we do, but how can we design this so that the entrance to the dog park, the easiest way to get there is if you park in the parking lot.
Right.
Okay, because that's what people want. They want the easiest way to get there. So I think, you know, from what we've heard tonight, and I think that makes the most sense as well. I think that's something that we have to try and make a priority if we
And
can.
I think like a lot of time should be spent, because I think once you open the door and place this here, and if there aren't, then it's gonna be very hard to take it back.
We want to do it right the first time. That's why we're here.
Right, exactly. Okay,
Thank you.
so much.
Thanks for coming.
Hi, my name's Eric Jordan. I'm at 160 Coles Avenue, at the very end of Coles Ave, at the entrance where the parking lot is for the park right now. Just echoing a lot of the concerns here about the parking. I know you're all looking into this and want to address this as thoroughly as possible. Will there be any traffic study be done for what anticipated extra traffic would be coming in for this dog park? They do get pretty popular. I've been to the one in Overpeck quite a few times. They have a very large parking lot there where people have to walk quite a distance, but still accommodates just about everybody. As the concerns of my neighbors have also brought up, that the traffic coming down Coles Avenue, particularly with these driving schools, they really can cause a fair amount of traffic. You've seen this before during the recreation department there that they have during the summertime. And I understand everybody needs, you know, a safe place to learn to drive. But sometimes when you have 3 different driving schools all parking there, trying to parallel park, it will cause a bit more of a jam. Also, the traffic going down Davis Avenue to that small turnaround is also a little difficult. I'm a dog lover, and I love the idea of dog parks. This is obviously more than a dog park, and I wanted to see if these plans could be provided in, let's say, a PDF format where we could look on our home computers, if possible. Because I really can't, my eyes are not as good as they used to be, and I really can't make out a lot of the details to this. I understand there's more going on here than just a dog park, but I just wanted to see if
Yeah,
those would be available.
definitely, it's all about a park improvement, including a dog park.
Yes, no, absolutely.
The one thing that's been brought up several times, it's raised some, you know, I don't know the legality of a driving school using our public park for their business.
They're really using Coles
This is just
Avenue.
brought to our attention, this is how we find things out.
Yeah.
People bring
Don, I'm at
primarily
the end of our cul-de-sac, and they're by us all the time, too.
Are they really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I honestly, I mean, they're using a public road. I mean, if they're not interfering with traffic or creating a safety hazard, I don't know that they can't do it, but I certainly haven't never looked at that one. So, I mean, if it's a real legitimate problem, you know, we can look at it. I mean, are they like
Put up
setting up
cones by us and
cones? I mean, what are they
They
doing?
put cones
I'm just
by-
concerned you
by
have young
us.
children during recreation during the summer, and then you have people learning to drive cars. It just kind of, I don't know. It took me by surprise.
I mean, look, you know, if the council wants, if we can get the names of these driving, I mean, usually it's on the side of it, A1 driving school. If we can get some contact information, you know, we can reach out to them and, you know, express some concerns at a minimum, but we need to know who to talk to first. I've never heard of this here before.
We have
so.
our police director here. We'll reach out and get some names and numbers of the driving schools, and we'll sort this out. Obviously, if these are during day hours, while the kids are in school and no one's using the park, I don't think anybody has raised too much of an eyebrow.
No.
It depends in when they overtake the recreational space or the use, or it becomes a safety concern. But as I keep telling people, I go through these pads rather quickly. I take good notes. We'll address it.
Thank you for your time.
All right. We're going to end this because we have a 6 o'clock meeting. We all need to take a little 2-minute break here. But I want to thank everybody for coming. This is a good beginning. There'll be another meeting or two on this. We'll see what we can put together as far as PDF, and next time we do it, we promise we'll have a PowerPoint presentation and moving forward. But
For the record, for tonight, I'll get the engineering firm to send me this document electronically. We'll have it posted on the website, and you can address and look this up from there as a start, and then we'll work through this. But I thank all of you and your passion for coming to tonight's meeting.
Yep, I need a motion to
Thank you,
close to the public.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, folks.
Close the meeting.
The motion to close the meeting?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.